Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon, not here with Geeky Sparkles in this video, but we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons and safe spaces and safe words. Apparently the new player's handbook has language in it that if the game is getting a little too triggering, that you can tell your DM that you're triggered and you don't want to play anymore. Because God forbid there's anything in the game that makes you uncomfortable. Remember back in the day where there were all kinds of like insidious traps and slavery and half-naked barbarian babes and like all that stuff, right? I mean, we're talking 70s, early 80s fantasy. Pick up a heavy metal magazine from the era and you know pretty much what to expect from your typical D&D session, right? And now we're dealing with a bunch of Tumblrites. We're dealing with theater kids. We're dealing with very sensitive people who are triggered. And look, you can play the game however you want to. That's always been the case. Not every story or every scenario is right for every player. And going back to the earliest version of Dungeons and Dragons that I played, the red box set from 1983, you were always allowed to make the rules up as you go for your table, for your scenario. But now we have a bunch of new players who want everything to be just for them, tailored just for them. They're offended by orcs. Hasbro, WotC has to make a statement about orcs and racism. If we think mixed breed characters or using race, to describe those characters is somehow offensive, then Wizards of the Coast is being pressured to change it. And for all the talk of the celebration of the 50th anniversary of D&D, what I'm seeing is them kind of dragging the carcass of this franchise around. And look, it has its player base, right? And D&D 5e did blow up during the 20-teens, and in part, I think, because of Critical Role, in part because of Tumblr, and that is the audience they have. But even Critical Role has ditched WotC after their nonsense with the OGL and all of that. So let's talk about this, guys. There are a lot of options out there. Just so you know, there are many options out there. You don't have to play D&D. You don't have to play current year D&D. You can go back and your books are not obsolete. You can go back and play first or second edition AD&D. You can play the red box. You can kind of make it up as you go. You don't have to give Wizards of the Coast any money. You don't have to give Hasbro any money if you don't like their product. I'm looking at this. I'm not going to play this. There's no way in hell I'm going to play this. I didn't even like 5e. I played like 2 sessions of 5e and I'm like, yeah, this is crap. And we went back to OSR. That's what I taught my kids was OSR. So let's talk about this. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. Go out to clownfish-com. Check out our merch, and you can also join the Plus Club, the Minus Club, whatever. We've got exclusive podcasts and videos out there you're not going to find on YouTube. Also, if you would like to go out to locals, you can do that. clownfishtv.locals.com. We have the same content mirrored out there. We've been covering Dungeons and Dragons and Wizards of the Coast for a very long time. We actually wound up inadvertently getting involved in the situation with Ernie Gygax. I know Jason Hunt from Sci-Fi for Me TV is the one who did the infamous interview with Ernie Gygax. That's one of Gary Gygax's sons, his oldest, I believe his oldest. And Ernie said some things about how he did not understand the state of Dungeons and Dragons right now. He didn't understand why it was all about identity politics and euphemisms for being trans and all this other stuff that it just wasn't about. And I don't think he said anything derogatory. I mean, he was actually pretty nice about it, but he's an older guy and he just kind of spoke his mind, and God forbid you speak your mind. I mean, Gary Gygax often spoke his mind, and that was enough to get him dogpiled. It was pretty awful to see him have to go through that. And they tried to put him through some struggle sessions, you know how it works. But I'm like, you're trying to cancel the son of the guy who created Dungeons and Dragons, or co-created rather, Dungeons and Dragons. Like, what the hell is wrong with you people? And he didn't even do anything wrong. But yeah, so that was like a whole thing. Yeah, we've been covering it for like 4 or 5 years now, and it's a mess, guys. And a lot of people now are just coming to the realization that the tabletop scene is, I mean, for lack of a better term, pretty damn woke, right? It's pretty damn woke. I would say it's actually more quote unquote woke, or has been more infected with the quote unquote woke mind virus, as Elon likes to say. But they've been put on the radar because I think of Elon Musk, and because he was saying, what the hell is wrong with Hasbro? Why are they letting these people denigrate, Gary Gygax, and they can go to hell? And no offense to Elon Musk, because I'm sure he's going to listen to this video. But I'm like, dude, you're new to the party. This has been going on for a long time now. Anyway, this is Kyle Mann, who I guess is from the Babylon Bee. I'm guessing, yeah, he is editor-in-chief of the Babylon Bee. He's got his little bee badge. We need to get little clownfish badges, I think. He said he had to see it for himself. It's true, the new edition of the D&D Dungeon Master's Guide encourages players to raise their arms in an X if they're triggered by any in-game content. And I actually found that this is a thing that's been happening for a while now. In fact, they have a safe word thing 6 years ago on Reddit. So here we go. Limits in play. Since D&D is improvisational, the game can go in unexpected directions. It's helpful to have an agreed-on signal that players can use to communicate that a limit has been violated, allowing you to adjust quickly. That signal might be a gesture such as crossing your arms in an X or raising a palm in a stop gesture, a code word or phrase, touching or lifting a designated object, or anything else your group agrees on. Players should also feel safe to say stop and pause the game until the issue is resolved. Depends on how far we're going, right? Like, this is also, I mean, we're also dealing with 5e now, where everybody is special. Everybody's got like a ridiculous amount of overpowered magical stuff. And apparently permadeath isn't quite a thing. You're not like it used to be, because you don't want to kill off a good character. I'm like, hey, guess what? Bad things happen to good people all the time. That's just, that's a game. It's a game. But for some people, it's not. For some people, it really is their second life. Signal shouldn't trigger a debate or discussion. Thank the player for being honest about their needs. Set the scene right and move on. No, I do not want to be raped by orcs. Make it clear to players that if a person isn't comfortable using the signal, they can step away from the game or call for a break to talk to you privately. Players may also give a friend permission to use the signal on their behalf. As the DM, lead by example. Take your players' needs seriously and use every tool in your disposal to adjust how your shared story plays out. Shared story. Yeah, Elon Musk is like, what the fuck? It is. This is Robert Kuntz, who we've been talking about. I need to get him on the show. I'm going to get him on the show. Who actually was there pretty much since the beginning with Dungeons and Dragons. He worked with Gary Gygax. He says, yeah, and people, rational people, have no objection when I state this is not the game 72-75 that I helped playtest and create. Yeah. It's not the game that I played in high school in the 80s, and well, it wasn't high school in the 80s, but I started playing in the 80s, and in the 90s, even second edition, I played heavily in high school. It's not even that anymore. It's make believe. It's that's all it is. But I guess it's always been let's pretend with rules and dice, right? But still, this is insane. But yeah, it's a thing. This is going back 6 years on Reddit. DMs or players. What safety mechanisms do you have in place to avoid RPG horror stories? Do you immediately alter the narrative? Do rocks fall? Players, if a party member, do you jump into action? Do you have character conversations? This person, Goobosaurus Rex, said, whenever I start a campaign or add a new player, I ask them which topics are off limit. Then I avoid those topics because we're all adults and I don't need to be an edgy fuck and throw their real world trauma in their face. This person, here we go. This might be the origins of it. 6 years ago, I'm a fan of the pro wrestling inspired cross arms. What is it with wrestling? What is it with wrestling in this particular demographic? Like, I loved wrestling growing up. I've been to many tapings. But like, there's definitely on the Venn diagram of tabletop and, Portland comics and all the, and baristas with comically oversized mustaches and purple hair. Professional wrestling factors into this somehow. I don't understand it. I don't get it. It's like all this nerd stuff, but it's all been like glammed up and made silly and very femme. You know what I'm saying? Like D&D back in the day, yeah, it was nerd shit, but it was kind of badass too, especially if you were like, inspired by Frank Frazetta or, like I said, heavy metal magazines or just stuff like that. Now it's just like, oh yeah, we're all baristas. And we have safe words. I'm like, what the hell are we playing? When someone does something rapey. This is what it's about. When someone does something rapey, call them out. Yeah, don't do rapey. I mean, that should be oh God. We never did anything rapey in our games. We went looking for treasure, looking for adventure, and a little fun along the way. But we didn't do that. God. Anyway, this is coming from Fandom Pulse. D&D official Discord overrun by woke activists who say D&D is so gay and call anti-woke players bigots online. This is the entire scene right now, or a good portion of it. Well, okay, let me rephrase that. It's not the entire scene. It's the most vocal portion of the scene. Like there's a very good chance if you're dealing with a tabletop publisher or you're dealing with a tabletop convention or you're dealing with somebody who's writing about tabletop, there's a very good chance that they are also an activist, that they also love 5e, because they pushed out a lot of the old fans, right? They call us grognards. They push out the old fans. And I think a lot of people just want to, play their games in peace and they don't get involved in the online discourse because you're not allowed to. And if you say anything online that they don't like, they'll literally ban you from events. We've seen this happen before. And they've just completely infected the scene. So, I mean, Elon Musk was joking about buying Hasbro. But if he would, I can guarantee you that he would treat Wizards of the Coast like Twitter, and he would fire about 75% of the people working there. And then it would probably chase off a lot of the other activists from the scene because it'd be like, we can't play D&D. It's for toxic middle-aged chuds again. Oh my God, guys, they took our game from us. But no, Robert Kuntz is entirely correct. The version of D&D that's being sold now, it's comical that they're actually marketing D&D based on like Stranger Things, because I'm like, those kids would not be playing this version of the game. The version of the game that they were playing on Stranger Things does not exist anymore. And in fact, Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast, the current regime, they are ashamed of that version of the game. So anyway, this is going back out to Fandom Pulse. They said the 2024 Dungeon Master's Guide infamously incorporated BDSM fetish community practices in the game for safe spaces. Oh, with the X. Is that what that is? See, I'm not into that scene. Is that what that is? I'm a good boy. I've been married for a long time. We don't do that. Anyway, this 2024 Player's Handbook is filled with imagery of bi, POC, and female characters at a margin of more than 5-1 for white male characters. That is true. That is something they've definitely gone out of their way to. I mean, it's not just about being more inclusive. It's like, damn, this is like overcompensating, I think, over-representation. One D&D race has entire history removed to get rid of slavery. Yeah, and there's a constant push to humanize the orcs, and they look like Mexicans. We've covered all this, right? But here's the Discord. It said inside the official D&D Discord, all sanity has evaporated, with normal players exiting the game in droves. This is going on. The normal people they're playing other systems, or they're going back to old TSR D&D. They're not playing the new stuff. 5e definitely has its own audience. Let's just put it that way. Seems that all that's left are the woke activists they were signaling to. Yeah. Fandom Pulse obtained several screenshots of people complaining about Elon Musk and wondering if D&D is actually woke enough. Oh my God. So I heard rumors going around that Elon Musk is buying D&D. I've heard it too. What? If he changes anything, nobody's going to play by his rules. It's literally D&D. D&D as it is right now, 5e is not the real deal. It's not actual D&D. It's a bastardized version of it. They might as well just call it something else, but D&D is the brand recognition, right? And is it financially successful? Yeah, a lot of people bought it. I mean, it's also been on the market forever, like 10 years, right? It's been like 10 years. Why does he even look at D&D as a possible investment? He only bought Twitter because the law forced him to, says Skittle thief, they, them. God, they all have flags. Everybody's got flags and pronouns. Do they all have pronouns? I don't think the mods like this discussion very much. We have to tread lightly. I don't get why people blaming woke, because it is. It's best to cut the combo off. But D&D, by its nature, is so gay. No, it's nerdy, but it's not. It's not gay. I mean, it can be gay, I guess, if you want to make it gay. Every person I played with was so queer. Yeah, because it's attracted theater kids and Tumblrites. Discussion goes on despite several of these players acknowledging the moderators of the server probably won't like it. It's clear that in the official spaces, the woke are allowed to run rampant and be controversial. It's worse than this. Again, when we have Gen Con banning people for wrongthink because some of their vendors or some of the people attending might feel unsafe because somebody at that event said something quasi-mean or, voted the wrong way or whatever. I mean, what is going to happen is it's going to be like Denethor, like Wizards of the Coast, Hasbro. They're gonna douse themselves in kerosene, light themselves on fire, and then run screaming out of burning as they're on fire out of the damn tower and plummet to their death, right? I mean, it's just like, none of this is going to matter because at the end of the day, Hasbro just wants a shitty mobile app that just prints money. And so they'll ditch this. I mean, as soon as they create that D&D mobile app for normies that prints money, it's basically gambling, and they're printing money like they are with Monopoly Go. That's like the end of this scene. They don't give a shit. They're already throwing people overboard. And then they'll just outsource the tabletop game to somebody else. And I think that a lot of these people will probably disappear because it's not going to be trendy anymore. It's not going to be cool because the chuds are going to be in charge of it. I don't know. We'll see. They'll just go on to another system or whatever. But yeah, it's a mess. D&D is a mess right now. But safe words, God, that's ridiculous. I'm going to wrap it up, guys. Please subscribe. We'll talk later.